Upper six? Wow, okay, fantastic. Welcome to the Parliament. Where's your teacher? Okay. Welcome to the Parliament. It's really a pleasure to see you. This is a committee meeting of the Parliament, right? So it's not of the Senate, so it's not the whole Senate. That is scheduled to start at about 10 o'clock. So this is a committee meeting that is looking at the review of the rules that operate in the Senate. So it's a committee of Parliament, although the persons on the left, you will notice, this is almost the full leadership of the Parliament in the clerk, who is here, the deputy clerk, and the legal officers, research officers, assistant clerk, and the committee clerk. So this is really the leadership of the Parliament, although it's a subcommittee of the Parliament, right? And we are here looking at the rules. So I'm sure you're going to stay with us a bit longer after this committee meeting is finished, and then you'll get an opportunity to see the full Senate in progress. We have a few, or at least one Calabar old boy here. Not you, no. In the presence, in the personage of Senator Siverite, and I think that he was at your school recently, correct? Yes. So pleasure to see you. And Senator Sinclair, who is going to open the regular sitting of the Senate, will acknowledge you. But I just wanted to say welcome. Thank you very much for coming. And a special thanks to that brave teacher who I'm positive has a very difficult time with you guys. No, I'm sure of it, you know, you can laugh and say it's not true. So she's a very brave lady. But welcome to the Parliament, and you're always welcome here, you know. Any of you interested in politics or history? Really? Okay, good. Okay, fantastic. Well, I'm using this opportunity to talk to you. It's the first time you've been here? Eh? Okay. Well, this is a very famous place. It's a hallowed place in terms of Jamaican history. Because if you can imagine, right on these benches here would have sat Norman Manley and Bustamante, Hugh Shearer, Michael Manley, Donald Sangster, Edward Seaga, all of the leaders that you have had the opportunity to hear about, Portia Simpson Miller, Mr. Pattison, Bruce Golding, all of them have sat in here. So it's a very important place in terms of our history. So welcome again to this Parliament and to the Chamber. Senator Cavan Gale is out of the jurisdiction in United Kingdom, although I'm pretty certain that he's not shelling down anywhere. So he is, I don't think he's joining us, but he has asked to be excused. And I think Senator Shireen Golden Campbell has asked to be online, but we're not seeing her yet. Okay, she has now.
I'm here, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. I want to take the opportunity to welcome a new member of the committee, Senator Morgan, who is here for the first time at this meeting. Senator Morgan, the review of the standing orders really has been long. I'm not going to use long and detailed. I'm not going to use the word tedious. And we're really coming to an end of it now. So hopefully you won't have more than 5 or 6 meetings to attend. So we have to finish this thing here as we come down. So welcome, Senator Morgan. I'm really happy that you have been appointed here to join us. The minutes of the meeting of Friday, the 28th of March, 2025, were circulated. Girls, what school is that? Queens? Oh, lovely. And I noticed that you're keeping your distance from the Calabar boys. That's a very sensible thing to do. Where is the teacher? Okay, good, lovely. Welcome to the Senate. I was just indicating to the gentleman, young gentleman, that you are this is a committee of the Senate. It's not the whole Senate. It's a committee of the Senate. And so after this meeting, which will take about 20 minutes to half an hour, then you'll get an opportunity to see the whole Senate in action. So welcome to the Parliament of Jamaica and the Senate in particular. I just asked, any of you interested in history and politics? Don't shame me now, hold up your hand. Yes, good, excellent, lovely, at least two I saw. So welcome to the Parliament. I'm sure this is particularly interesting for both of you. And I was just pointing out the historical nature and the importance of this Senate, this building here to Jamaican history. Because the Parliament has met here since 1962. And in this chamber, every important decision relating to the country's economy and governance, every important decision from 1962 to now would have taken place right in this little chamber here. I'm sure it looks smaller than what you thought it looked like on television, but it's a very historical place. Sat right in these benches, as I was saying earlier, would have been Norman Manley, Bustamante, Donald Sangster, Shearer, Michael Manley, Edward Seaga, Portia Simpson Miller, Mr. Pattison, who celebrated his 90th birthday yesterday. So all of these persons would have participated in debates here. So it's a historical building and one that you should certainly be able to derive some amount of pride from. So welcome, and you're always welcome here. Oh, wow, thank you. and when the Senate resumes in full, Senator Sinclair will formally welcome you as well. And I neglected to welcome Ms. Tiffany Stewart. Tiffany is the new senior legal counsel. Welcome to the Parliament and the Senate in particular.
Thank you, Chair.
It's the first sitting of the Senate that you would be attending.
Yes.
But not the first sitting of the Parliament.
No,
Okay.
because I'm actually a legislative drafter, 8 years with the OPC,
So
so Parliament is really my home in a sense.
Okay, good. Well, welcome. And you never thought of getting a job at the Electoral Commission where we are looking for a draft person? Miss Lowe, you couldn't do some recruiting for us? Okay. The minutes, the minutes were circulated. I take them as read. Page 1, page 2. And what I always find fascinating about this committee in particular is that you come across a standing order and you assume that it's something that we are going to pass without much delay. And then the debate comes up and it becomes extremely interesting and takes up some time. And that is precisely what happened and what is reported on page 2 of the minutes, because Standing Order 76, referring to premature publication of evidence, we thought it would be something of not requiring too much brain power, but it certainly took up the time of the Commission. Senator Sinclair asked that 76.1 and 2 be recommitted. And Standing Order 76.1 stated that, and it talks about it. So Senator Sinclair, who had asked for that, maintain the confidentiality until the official publication of the report. Regarding public meetings, she emphasized that while members would not be prohibited from making comments, it should be clear to them that they would be giving their personal opinion and that their views would not necessarily be those of the committee. Since there has not been an official publication of the report, she reiterated that the provision could be reworded to reflect this. Senator Sinclair said that he expected the clerk or Ms. Jimenez to make a presentation on the proposal, which should take into consideration the committee's discussion on the matter. I don't think Ms. Jimenez was here because you're ill.
Pleasant morning, Chair. Pleasant morning, members. No, I was not here, and that would be the only amendment I'd suggest for page 1. It had me as present.
And you weren't online?
I was not.
Okay, thank you. So those are the minutes for the meeting of March 28, 2025. And I would ask that the motion be put for the acceptance of the minutes. Senator Morgan, you weren't here. Senator Sinclair? Senator Professor Morris, seconded. Matters arising. Ms. Lawyer, I have a yeah. Scott Motley. Yes, I should have. I assume that Fraser Binns is en route. No, she has a family emergency. Okay. I hope that is nothing of too much concern. Okay, no problem. Okay. So Scott Motley is out. Senator Fraser Binns' apology. I'm trying to remember. Oh, Senator Longmore, you're there with us virtually as well? No, well, she has requested. Okay. No, I see it here. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is last week. Oh, boy. So, yes, but it's because Golden Campbell is virtual and I see the virtually. I think Longmore is on our way. All right, so, Ms. Lowe, you have something to share with us?
Good morning, everyone. The document was circulated electronically, and members also have the hard copy with them. So I will await the comments, and if...
Take us through the document.
Do you want me to? Okay. Should I read it in its entirety or just go through the recommended?
Read it in its entirety.
Okay. Further to the recent deliberations in the last Senate meeting that was held on Friday, March 28, 2025, concerning Standing Order 76 on the premature publication of evidence, and in light of the comparative review of the relevant practices in the United Kingdom and Canada, please find below a proposed draft amendment to Standing Order 76 for the committee's consideration. Please be advised that the proposed revision seeks to consolidate paragraphs 1 and 2 into a coherent provision that reflects current realities, including increased media engagement and the impact of digital communication. The proposed draft seeks to create a distinction between public and private committee meetings, but introduces flexibility and clarity regarding what is permissible when members speak publicly, particularly in media forums. It also introduces principles of responsible conduct and provides a pathway for addressing potential breaches as follows. Standing Order 76, Publication of Committee Proceedings. 1, subsection 1, the proceedings of and evidence taken before any select committee, as well as any documents presented to or decisions made by such committee, shall not be published by any member thereof or by any other person prior to the presentation of the committee's report to the Senate, except in accordance with the provisions of this standing order. Subsection 2, where a meeting of a select committee is held in public, Members of the committee shall not be prohibited from commenting publicly on the matters under consideration. However, any such commentary must A. be clearly presented as the personal opinion of the member and not purport to represent the views or conclusions of the committee as a whole. B. Not disclose confidential or in-camera discussions, evidence, or documents. And C. Uphold the integrity of the parliamentary process by avoiding premature conclusions or attempts to influence the committee's deliberations or final recommendations. Subsection 3, members are expected to act responsibly and with due regard to the dignity of the Senate and the deliberative nature of committee proceedings. Where a breach of this standing order is alleged, the matter may be referred to the Committee of Privileges. Subsection 4, and this is the final one, in all cases where the meetings are held in public or in private, members must not attempt to preempt the findings or recommendations of the committee before its report is formally presented to the Senate. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator Morris, were you about to raise a question or query, comment?
No, Mr. Chair. I was just saying sort of a share, but I guess I can make it known that based on what the clerk has just read, you know, there's an easy defense if someone goes outside of the committee and presents, makes a statement. You know, the person can easily well say that the comment made is his or her personal opinion. The personal opinion might, however, aligns or accords with the opinion of the committee. So, you know, I was just saying that that could be an easy defense on the point of the member to say that, look, my opinion aligns with that of the committee.
Well, I believe it was just to make it, if they are doing the interview, I don't think there was a desire to really muzzle the member from having a public engagement. And, you know, there may be wisdom in the public engagement and making the public aware of issues that will at some point in time impact upon them, the livelihood, lives of the country, persons who reside as citizens here. So there was no intent to muzzle the persons. But when they are doing the interview, if it were, say, an interview, that they would make it abundantly clear that their position was, that they are commenting on is really their own personal opinion. So,
Mr. Chair, it is just, I mean, for order.
Yeah.
Because if it is that the committee is deliberating and there is a live issue taking place, no member should go outside and posit matters relating to the committee, unless the committee designates, you know, the individuals to so to do, you know. Once the individual expresses their opinion outside of that designation, then they should make it known that it is their personal opinion.
yes.
I'm going to sneak out, Mr. President, and then I'll be back for the Senate in short order.
All right, thank you very much, Senator Morris.
Mr. President?
Senator Golden Campbell.
Mr. President, I just want to ask one question and also make a comment in relation to the remarks Senator Morris just made. The first is in the sub clause 1 that the clerk read. It spoke to documents and what should how a member should treat with releasing documents or disclosing documents. And I just, I have some thoughts about that in relation to a public meeting. Are those documents, are the documents we receive when persons submit, make submissions to committees considered in that subclause? Because we're speaking there about evidence, and I'm just wondering how we view submissions that the public makes to committees, say joint select committees reviewing bills. So that's my first question. And the second is, I just want to ask my colleagues to consider the purpose of the committee meetings and the Senate in general. We are a review chamber, but we don't come to the Parliament to have conversations amongst ourselves. And I'm a little concerned about standing orders or rules of the Senate and in the Parliament in general that would serve to limit our ability to have engagement with the public outside of the Parliament. So that if a member in a committee, which is deliberating on an issue that may or may not be contentious, let's say it is contentious, seeks the view of the public or sections of the public, groups in the public, and engages in public discussions on matters before the committee, would that member fall afoul of such a standing order? I would be a little concerned if we are so protecting the integrity of the conversation in the Senate that we are losing the ability to have the conversations with the very citizenry that we are here to represent. Thank you very much.
Do you have the proposed draft with you, Senator Golden Campbell?
Unfortunately, no, I don't.
If you check your email,
I was looking to see
email.
if I had received it, but I don't seem to have it in my inbox.
Because I believe
I was listening keenly, but I don't have a copy of it.
the proposed 76.2 speaks about the committee being held in public. The members shall not be prohibited from commenting publicly.
No. Okay, so let me just say my first question was really about the disclosure of documents. So the prohibition I was referring to really was the question of submissions to committees and how those would be treated. But in relation to commenting publicly, and the caveat it seems in the draft that I heard the clerk read is that members are indicating that this is their personal view, which is fine. I still am concerned about how we deal with things like the submissions and the joint select committees.
Do you have any comment you wish to advance, Ms. Lowe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the subsection 2 would cover the circumstances as to how evidence can be disclosed and discussed. And even in the first subsection here, it says that except in accordance with the provisions of the standing order. So it is saying that if you take the evidence before the committee, as well as any documents presented, you should not publish it before the committee submits its report to the Parliament, except in accordance. And then the following subsections outline the exceptions.
Mr. President, is it then that we are regarding public submissions to a committee as evidence? I think I had raised that point on the last occasion, and I'm still a little concerned about what we mean by evidence, because I don't consider some of the documents, some of the submissions that we get from the public from groups. I don't necessarily consider them evidence. They are people's view, but they're not evidence. And I had the concern on the last occasion that the power of the Senate to have what essentially would be a quasi-judicial proceeding and hearing witnesses and investigating a matter is being conflated with the Senate's role in joint select committees or Senate committees where we have a sort of research-based interrogation as opposed to an evidentiary-based one. It's still a concern that I have. I won't delay the committee, but it's still a concern that I have.
All right, but let's have a read of the proposed amendment. You said you have not actually seen it. You're listening to the comments.
I'm a very good active listener.
I appreciate that.
President. So I did listen very carefully to what she said. So I don't think I'd have a different view if I read it.
All right, no problem.
I was listening very, very carefully.
Okay. Senator Sapphire Longmore.
I was just saying to Senator Golden Campbell, I just took a picture of the proposed amendment and sent it to her WhatsApp so she could check it there. Yeah.
All right. Ms. Jimenez.
Thank you, Chair. With regard to the inquiry about evidence, the term evidence as is used not only in the draft, but also potential review for or standing orders, is that pursuant to the Senate and House of Representatives Powers and Privileges Act, the Senate or the House of Representatives has the authority or power to summon whatever is received from that inquiry after summoning a witness or requesting the publication or the production of documents, records, papers, what have you, that would be otherwise deemed to be evidence. So I think in this draft, the reference to evidence, and that may be confidential or done or recorded in an in-camera proceeding, may be subject to that notice of confidentiality and the fact that that ought properly not to be disclosed to the public unless it is reported in the committee's report.
All right. May I only comment on the proposed draft, Ms. Lowe, and see if you agree with me? Where it would be in line 1, 2, 3, where it says, well, so that it makes a little sense for persons who may be listening, shall not be published by any member thereof or by any other person, which seems to be quite wide. Any other person before the committee? Because if you were to go back to the, pardon me?
I will be guided by the committee.
I didn't hear.
I will be guided by the committee regarding this particular concern.
All right, so you had left out deliberately then, you're saying, any other person before the committee or any other person, which is?
Perhaps any other person, because then someone from the committee could use. So if they are prohibited from making a statement, they may pass on that information to a proxy. However, I am guided by...
Well, I'll ask a question. How would you then deal with that scenario in light of the standing orders, which really is one that, because you go down into the proposed 3, where you say, where a breach of the standing order is alleged, the matter may be referred to the Committee of Privileges. And if a person, how do you have jurisdiction over someone who, yeah?
Yeah, well, 76(1) says, subject to paragraph 2, the proceedings of and the evidence taken before any select committee and any documents presented to and decisions of such a committee shall not be published by any member thereof or by any other person before the committee have presented their report to the Senate.
Yeah.
So it's the same, any other person.
Any other person before the committee.
But is it any other person before the committee?
So when you
have
say any other
presented
person-
or the person before the committee?
Yeah. Yes. So I was just asking you, do we, and members, what's your view on that particular issue? Because I'm just trying to figure from the proposal. How would
Mr.
you-
President, that any other person would also include somebody who provided evidence to the committee, yes?
Well, that person can,
I mean, it is as broad as it says, any other person. But
Before-
I wonder though, if any other person were to do so, what power would we have to sanction them? What sanction is
that was the
available?
question, that's the question I'll put to,
Yes.
to see whether we should still
I don't know
include
that
any
we
other
have that
person
power.
before the committee as against just any other person.
But Mr. President, do we even have the power to sanction somebody before the committee in the standing orders? I'd be guided.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm asking, do we even have the power to sanction someone who comes before the committee in the standing orders? I'd be guided if we do, but I'm not aware that we do.
Mr. Menez, that is correct.
I am currently looking through the Powers and Privileges Act, the Senate and House of Representatives Powers and Privileges Act, to see whether it captures a breach of confidences in inquiry. I know that the legislation has penalties
Yes.
for breaches or offenses that it has deemed, but please give me before the end of the meeting to
All right.
conclude.
But then we can go as far as we can possibly go in the standing orders, and I believe that just for us to be absolutely clear, it is any other person who appears before the committee. That should be maintained in the standing orders in the draft, and that would be my only proposal to what Ms. Law has presented as a proposed amendment to be included. I just also want to raise, and for members to give consideration to it, and it was circulated, a comment from Senator Gale, who was written and sent an email after he got the email of the draft proposal, in which he reads, "Dear colleagues, I wish to get some guidance on the following point. The meaning of preempt the findings as outlined in Clause 4, and that's Clause 4 of the proposed amendment. Does this provision mean that the members are prohibited from discussing or otherwise influencing the anticipated conclusions of the committee prior to the formal report? I'm trying to understand the practical implication of this prohibition. Secondly, is this reflected in any other standing orders?" Yes.
So based on my research, which I had mentioned in the last meeting held, the UK and Canada do not have specific provisions regarding publication and discussion in the media sphere. However, they do encourage members to uphold the integrity of parliamentary proceedings. So there are no specific provisions regarding that, and I do believe that the word is given its true and natural definition and self-explanatory in the circumstances.
All right. Senator Langmore.
Thank you, Chair. It may relate to all that we're discussing. I am wondering if there's a distinction between submissions versus evidence. The reason I say this is that when we're having these select or otherwise committee meetings, it is submissions. The reference that we make when persons come and present positions, etc., etc., it is termed a submission. The layman in me, when I see the term evidence, it brings a different level of quote-unquote responsibility, consequence, and even with respect to the consequences of quote-unquote a breach, because if someone comes in and makes a submission that relates to a particular topic that has some concern, has some questioning, and we are discussing it outside of that forum, that is to the benefit of seeking to get clarity on the particular submission. So I wondered if there is any distinction between submission versus evidence in terms of how we practically apply it, and therefore the practical quote-unquote breach, if any, if such matters are discussed. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman and members. My understanding of it, and certainly it was highlighted in the submissions made by the Legislative Council, is that really the difference is how the information was obtained, and to your point, so whether the person is summoned versus voluntarily appearing before the committee. So where it is that persons are voluntarily providing information, then it is, to my mind and my reading, simply information, and then that information could be disseminated in the public. But if they're summoned, it would be elevated, as indicated, to evidence, and in which case the bars, as reflected in the standing orders, would apply. Certainly, that's my interpretation.
Thank you for that, Mr. Cohen. So in terms of the distinction of the members being able to discuss out of that forum, again, usually in the pursuit of clarity and whatever best practice they would want to engage in, I think maybe we need to consider that distinction being made, because I think that is what is kind of causing concern, to say if someone comes in and presents a particular position, we're almost being restricted in how we seek to explore around that submission.
Chair?
That's all for me. Senator Golden Campbell.
All right, no, I do agree with the point made by the member. Certainly in the original standing order, it does speak to proceedings and evidence, so there is a bar, in a sense, either way that you look at it. And so certainly it's for the committee to determine if that's indeed what it wants, and make that distinction, yes. So I would support the position.
Senator Golden Campbell.
Chair, I want to support Senator Longmore's intervention a while ago. And I want to suggest that we break down this, the revision to this provision to deal with two scenarios. One is the proceedings, as the Deputy Clerk just intimated, where the Senate would be acting in a almost quasi-judicial sort of role, interrogating witnesses and taking evidence. And a second provision, which I'm actually not in support of, and I'm not in support of it because to me, the idea of any sort of discussion about how members deal with committee meetings that are not that sort of quasi-judicial meeting, it doesn't make any sense to me, because a committee is not a singular body. A committee of the Senate or a joint select committee is a committee of members of the Senate and or the House, where members are engaging in a competition of ideas. We are not here with a single voice. The report of a committee is the result of a competition of those ideas where the majority has made a recommendation to the full body of the Senate. And you will recall that there are times when a report comes with a majority view and a minority view. So to say that a member must not preempt the findings or recommendations of the committee, it is the very job of a member to advance a view depending on where that member finds the support for that view in the society. It is not the job of a member to sit and go along with this idea of a committee that is acting singularly. That's not what we do. We have discussions, robust discussions sometimes. Sometimes some members are able to convince their fellow members. Sometimes we agree to disagree. And at the end of that, the committee produces a singular report reflecting the majority view. So I do not think that the provisions proposed at 3 and 4 of this draft are appropriate at all in the standing orders. May it please you.
All right, so Mr. Menez, were you?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The points raised by Member Longmore and also Member Golding Campbell are critical. What I have deemed in my research is that our standing orders do not differentiate or provide or make provisions for the difference between an invitation and summoning. So if we look to the Standing Order 75 that deals with 75-2 in particular, that deals with summoning witnesses, there's nothing contained in this clause or these standing orders that state you can merely come, not on a summon, but by way of invitation, perhaps through the committee clerk. For that reason, in the redraft of the revised standing orders that I had undertaken to propose to the committee, a document was prepared and shared with the technical team for their review. But just to give an insight and to give further clarity into this particular contribution, a potential revision would include a standing order that states any member of a select committee may, with the approval of the committee, invite any person to appear before the committee to make a submission and or provide paper, book, record, and or document in his possession or under his control, which in the opinion of the committee may assist in the effective discharge of its functions. This invitation shall be extended to the person by the clerk of the committee at the committee's discretion. So that would cover an invitation. When it comes to an inquiry whereby a witness is summoned, a select committee may require by order, and this is the language that is used in the Senate and House of Representatives Powers and Privileges Act. A select committee may by order require that a summons be issued to any witness to attend before that committee to be examined and give evidence, and to produce any paper, book, record, or document in that person's possession, custody, or control to the committee, except where such material pertains any naval, military, Air Force, or civil department, or to any other matter concerning public service. And it continues. So there is a distinction to be created between invitation and summoning.
All right, and then that would then also impact upon the issues at 76. Well, Mr. Menez, you're giving yourself a lot of work.
So far, Chair, it's a 15-page document. So I know that the committee may have to create some scheduling to see how well they can deliberate through the revised clauses and come to a conclusion so that we can submit our report to the Senate.
Yes, and I think this committee has done so much that it would be sad if we did not get to that stage.
Right.
All right, so it seems as if you're going to undertake some other work. And for members who appreciate the commentary that has been made, that you can also look on what you so desire the final outcome to look like, and to have it ready that when we have those discussions after Ms. Jimenez's report is circulated in relation to these particular standing orders that she has under review, which now takes us, 74, 75, 76, that we will be able to come to a final and satisfactory conclusion and to have things right and have more improved standing orders. At this time at 10:13, I'd ask for a motion for the Standing Orders Committee to be adjourned. Moved by Senator Sapphire Longmore, seconded by Senator Morgan. Thank you very much.
And to Jamaica, land will run well.
No more guarantors for student loan. Your government cares